Breaking news, China's COVID-19 surge sparks new death reports. Anthrax outbreak spreads to Hebei after Shandong cases, nationwide concerns rise. Employment crisis drives top China university graduates back to technical schools. China's steel industry woes deepen, cheap products flood global markets. Flash floods ravage Shaanxi's Yan'an, cars swept away amid torrential rain. Bangladesh coup sparks fear in China as public criticism of CCP grows. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Breaking news, China's COVID-19 surge sparks new death reports. On August 9, Chinese authorities reported new deaths related to the COVID-19 virus as the pandemic resurges across the country. Recent weeks have seen a noticeable uptick in cases, with many netizens stating they've tested positive again. In a rare move, officials have issued warnings to strengthen pandemic prevention measures. The Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, released data showing 203 new severe COVID-19 cases and 2 new deaths in July. The positivity rate has risen sharply, from 8.9% in early July to 18.7% by the end of the month, with the JN.1 and XDV Omicron subvariants leading the spread. Social media is abuzz with people sharing their experiences of repeated infections. On August 3, a Shanghai woman revealed that she has tested positive 8 times, leading to a loss of bone marrow function. On July 31, a video surfaced online showing an outbreak at the Weimoi Postpartum Care Center in Huainan, Anhui Province, where several infants were reportedly cross-infected. In a rare move, the Wuxi CDC in Jiangsu Province admitted that the COVID-19 pandemic is showing signs of resurgence and urged the public to seek medical attention promptly. The pandemic situation in Shanghai is also worsening. Dr. Hu Yang, a respiratory specialist at Shanghai Pulmonary Hospital, stated, since July, the number of COVID-19 patients in outpatient clinics has indeed increased compared to earlier periods. She advised the public to wear masks for protection, noting that chronic disease patients and the elderly are at higher risk of severe illness. Citizens across China have reported ongoing infections and a troubling rise in sudden deaths, even among young people. Hospitals are overwhelmed, with fever clinics packed to capacity. Mr. Yang from Haidong, Qinghai Province, said, there are still frequent cases of colds and fevers, which indicates that the pandemic hasn't ended. Recently, the flu and fever situation seems to be more severe. Several children around me have had colds and fevers, including my own child, who is still coughing now. Mr. Yang from Nanyang, Hunan Province, said, I feel this virus will coexist with humans for a long time. The fever clinics here are all packed, and the hospitals are extremely busy. We've also seen sudden deaths among young people, in their 20s and 30s, which are not uncommon. Many sudden deaths are due to heart attacks, and now the virus is causing sudden deaths across all age groups. Anthrax outbreak spreads to Hebei after Shandong cases, nationwide concerns rise. Following recent reports of anthrax cases in Yanggu County, Liaoqing City, Shandong Province, alarming news is now emerging that similar cases have been identified in Shijiazhuang, Hebei Province. Concerns are growing among netizens about the potential for the disease to spread nationwide, though there has been no official media coverage in mainland China. On August 8, the Deepen media account on the X platform released a video stating that anthrax has begun to spread across North China. The initial outbreak was detected in Yanggu County, Shandong, and now, Shijiazhuang City in Hebei Province has reportedly seen cases as well. The video warns that the disease could quickly spread across the country. The video footage shows a male patient in a hospital bed, his right arm severely affected, with red and black discoloration and significant swelling and skin lesions on his forearm and fingers. A doctor in the video explains that the patient had infrequent contact with cattle and had an open wound that became infected. The patient was initially suspected of having cutaneous anthrax, and blood tests later confirmed PCR positive for anthrax, leading to a diagnosis of septicemic anthrax. On August 9, another video from the 5th Hospital of Shijiazhuang's second infection department surfaced, showing a suspected anthrax patient receiving intravenous treatment. The patient's left fingernails and thumb appear blackened, a concerning symptom of the infection. In the video, several doctors discuss the case with the patient. One doctor emphasizes the need for long-term medication and proper nutrition to aid recovery, while cautioning against the use of random ointments. Another doctor highlights the challenges of treating anthrax. She said, "This bacterium, Bacillus anthracis, is difficult to treat, and the course of treatment is usually long. You can see how it invades this wound. It's different from ordinary infections. Regular infections usually heal within a few days, but this one is different." The situation in Shandong remains dire, with reports of anthrax outbreaks in Yanggu leading to fatalities and multiple villages being sealed off. According to official reports from August 2, 5 workers in a cattle farm in Chiji town, Yanggu, were diagnosed with cutaneous anthrax and are currently in isolation. However, online rumors suggest a more serious outbreak, with over 100 people potentially infected. Screenshots of online chats shared on the X platform indicate that several villages have been sealed off due to the outbreak, and there are claims that over 80 cattle have died at a farm in Yanggu, allegedly due to anthrax. Some netizens have even speculated that the outbreak may have been deliberately caused to pave the way for the mass importation of Russian beef and lamb into China, a claim that has yet to receive an official response. As the situation unfolds, the lack of transparency in official reporting on the anthrax outbreak is fueling widespread concern and speculation. Authorities have yet to address the full extent of the situation, leaving the public in the dark as fears of a larger outbreak grow. Employment crisis drives top China university graduates back to technical schools. On August 6, HuxIU.com reported that just 3 years ago, attending a first-tier university was the top choice for many students and a key performance indicator for schools. However, this year has seen a significant shift in both students' and parents' priorities. In July, Su Shi, a high-achieving student from Zhejiang, was admitted to the Zhejiang Vocational College of Public Security Officers with a score of 635 out of a maximum 750 points. In Guangzhou, another student scored 659 and enrolled in the Guangzhou Traffic and Transportation Vocational School. Meanwhile, Chen Yuxuan from Hangzhou, who scored 602, well above the first-tier cutoff, chose to attend Zhejiang Electromechanical Vocational and Technical University. She cited the school's impressive 98% employment rate as a major factor in her decision, adding that the opportunity to work for China Railway Corporation upon graduation was particularly appealing. This growing trend highlights a shift in focus for many students, who are now prioritizing job security over the prestige of a university education. High-scoring students are increasingly opting for vocational colleges tied to government staffing in hopes of securing an iron rice bowl, a stable, lifelong job. Mr. Li Yuanhua, a historian based in Australia, commented on the trend, stating, "University graduates are now facing unemployment, forcing parents to reconsider what is most important, not the prestige of the school, but whether their children can secure a job and make a living." This shift is driven by economic pressures. People once hoped that higher education would lead to better prospects, but those dreams have faded. Now, the primary concern is having a job and putting food on the table. Chinese-Canadian writer Xing Shui echoed this sentiment, saying, "Chinese society is experiencing a catastrophic collapse across all fronts, political, economic, and social. For young people, survival has become their top priority, overshadowing ideals, passions, and future career plans." Facing an uncertain future, many students are choosing schools they believe offer better employment guarantees. However, Mrs. Xing Shui warns that the notion of an iron rice bowl in China is a myth. Recently, in response to local government debt pressures, China is currently breaking the so-called iron rice bowl of civil servants, accelerating the reform of converting public institutions into enterprises. Amidst this harsh employment landscape, many university graduates are now reverse studying at vocational schools. In one notable case, all 23 students in the university technicians class at Qingdao Technical College had already graduated from universities before returning to technical schools to learn a trade and find a new career path. Among them were graduates from prestigious institutions. According to data from universities like Tsinghua and Peking University, employment rates for the class of 2023 are reported to exceed 95%. However, the actual employment rate is less than 10%. For instance, in Tsinghua University's report, 80.8% of graduates pursued further education, while the signed employment rate was only 8.8%, with a flexible employment rate of 6.4%. China's steel industry woes deepen, cheap products flood global markets. In China, the steel industry is under mounting pressure. For years, the real estate sector, which drives the bulk of steel demand, has been in decline. The Chinese government has yet to introduce effective solutions, leaving the future of the industry, producing a staggering 1 billion tons of steel annually, uncertain. This has resulted in a flood of cheap Chinese steel products into international markets. Weak prices and sluggish domestic demand have forced China to ramp up steel exports, heightening trade tensions with other countries. The Chinese government is now grappling with an oversupply in the real estate market. With many infrastructure projects stalled or delayed due to rising local debts, a recovery in domestic steel consumption seems a long way off. Experts predict that China's demand for steel products will shrink this year. Tomás Gutiérrez, an analyst at Kallanish Commodities, told Bloomberg, the steel industry faces very few positive factors, and the downturn in real estate will persist for several more years. Kallanish data suggests that demand for steel in China's construction industry could drop by another 10% this year. This would reduce construction's share of total steel consumption to around 1/4, a significant decline by the standards of the past 2 decades. While there has been some growth in demand from China's consumer electronics and shipbuilding industries, the scale is too small to counteract the negative impact of the real estate sector on the steel industry. In recent months, the slowdown in demand has led to a sharp drop in prices. Rebar prices, used in construction, are at their lowest since 2017, while prices for hot-rolled coils, used in automobiles and appliances, have hit a near 4-year low. For many manufacturers with higher production costs, operating means taking a loss. China's steel industry troubles are now affecting global markets. ArcelorMittal, the world's largest steel producer outside China, has warned that China's aggressive exports are driving prices in the US and Europe below production costs. Chinese steel exports have surged to their highest level since 2016, raising global concerns. In Latin America, the sharp rise in Chinese steel imports has prompted countries like Mexico, Chile, and Brazil to significantly raise tariffs to protect their industries. Chile's largest steel plant, Huachipato, announced it will indefinitely suspend operations from September due to unsustainable financial pressures from Chinese product dumping. Vietnam, China's largest steel buyer, is considering anti-dumping measures that could further depress steel prices in China. South Korean steelmakers are also struggling, with major companies reporting significant profit declines in the second quarter. The Korea Iron and Steel Association reported that 60% of imported steel in the first half of the year came from China, at prices well below the global average. Flash floods ravage Shaanxi's Yan'an, cars swept away amid torrential rain. In the early hours of August 9, Shandong County in Yan'an, Shaanxi Province, was hit by intense torrential rain, triggering flash floods that swept away numerous cars and trapped residents. Local authorities have issued an orange alert for heavy rain, with conditions expected to worsen. From 8 p.m. on August 8 to 5 a.m. on August 9, record-breaking rainfall pounded the region, with Shandong County experiencing an average of 124.8 millimeters and a peak of 179.1 millimeters. Witnesses described the rain as overwhelming, with floodwaters rising up to 2 meters, making streets impassable. Online videos show cars piled up and submerged, highlighting the severe impact of the floods. Essential services, including communication and utilities, have been disrupted, and restoration efforts are ongoing. As of now, there are no official reports of casualties. The Shaanxi Provincial Department of Water Resources has issued flood warnings across the region, with Shandong County under a red alert. This disaster adds to a summer of severe weather across China, where heavy rains have caused widespread flooding, significant casualties, and massive economic losses. The Ministry of Emergency Management reports that July alone saw 76.9 billion yuan, about $10.73 billion, in damages and over 2.64 million people affected. The situation remains critical as heavy rain continues to impact the region. Bangladesh coup sparks fear in China as public criticism of CCP grows. China's economic crisis deepens, posing a growing threat to the stability of the regime. Recent developments in Bangladesh, including a coup and a significant stock market surge, have sparked widespread discussion on Chinese social media, raising concerns for the CCP. On August 6, Caixin reported that the Bangladeshi stock market experienced its largest surge in 4 years. Chinese netizens quickly reacted, with comments like, "Now we know why our stock market doesn't rise," and "the eternal 3,000 points finally make sense." However, these discussions were swiftly censored on platforms like Weibo. Previously, online comments from Chinese netizens admiring the Bangladeshi people and praising the military for siding with the public were also systematically removed, underscoring the CCP's sensitivity to such topics. Experts note that coups are a sensitive issue for the CCP, and the online discussions have clearly unsettled the leadership in Beijing. Lai Rongwei, executive director of the Taiwan Inspiration Association, explained to NTD Television that the coup in Bangladesh is linked to economic and employment issues, drawing parallels with China's own worsening economy and high unemployment rate. He remarked, "Chinese citizens can't take to the streets like the Bangladeshis did." The support from Chinese netizens reveals their own sense of helplessness. As China's economy continues to decline, the CCP's so-called economic rescue plans have been met with criticism. Instead of providing relief, these measures, which include increased taxes and further exploitation through policies like mandatory housing inspections and insurance, have sparked fear and resentment among the public. Netizens have expressed their frustration, saying, "This is the most terrifying policy yet, and the scythe is ready, they're cutting us down to the roots." With living conditions worsening, the CCP's intensifying exploitation raises questions about whether the Chinese people might be inspired by the events in Bangladesh. This concern is likely why the CCP has tightly controlled discussions about the Bangladeshi coup. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.